Writing about his first experience as a minister in the mid-50s, Shaker Stevens recalls in his autobiography as follows. Most men in public positions the world over need money, but the need is far more acute for those who have only just left the breadline. That means the one they will be poor, the poor real ones that comes into politics. Most men in public positions the world over need money. That's what Shaker Stevens said. This is what Abbas Bundu is saying. Shaker Stevens said that most men in public positions the world over need money, but the need is far more acute for those who have only just left the breadline. That those ones that are really poor, that just came out. So like that Drake Mound, I go pool, all of a sudden, can get, grew up in a very poor home, nothing there, maybe he's the first to break through, and now he has political office. They are a lot more hungrier. That is why you have so much corruption. You see it again since 2018 to now. What happened in Parliament? It was a sellout. Everybody, opposition, everybody was selling, cutting deals with the King Ho deals, all of these deals, selling at terminals, Kisi terminal, ferry terminal, all of that stuff that you see. Because again, these guys are trying to break that poverty, lineage that they've gone through. You see, this is the problem we have. And this is what Shaker Stevens said about what was happening back then. So let me read it again, because I want you guys to understand this. Most men in public positions the world over need money, but the need is far more acute for those who have only just left the breadline. As far as an African is concerned, once he is elevated to a position of authority, he is expected to support the horde of hangers on that everybody else behind him. Remote members of his family, many of whom he never before knew existed. He must hand out legacy, educate not only his own children, but those of family members, entertain more lavishly and more frequently than before, and dress himself and his family in clothes befitting his status. It is all part and parcel of his new position. Money slips through his fingers like quicksilver, and he can never have enough of it to satisfy his dependents. When it can be had so easily, when all that is required of him is his influence in tipping the scales in the award of a contract or maneuvering some other proposition in favor of the donor, the temptation is enormous, and it seems foolish to him to refuse such an offer. Fresh in his memory too is the hardship he suffered on the way up the ladder, the years of poverty and near starvation he endured, and the longed for education he could never afford, and perhaps also the stench and dampness of a prison cell. With plenty of money in the bank, at least, his own children would be spared such deprivation. The new political elite had seen how the colonial masters had acquired personal wealth, prestige, and power for themselves, and how lavishly they have lived their lives. They were just waiting in the wings to step right into their shoes, for a taste for luxury had led them into preoccupations with wealth and its perquisites, consumption, display, and pleasure.
An army of sheep led by a lion will defeat an army of lions if the lions are led by a sheep. What's the moral of this parable? Here it is. Write it down. Number one, leadership determines the quality of the followers. You know, a good leader can transform cowards into warriors. A good leader can transform frightened people into fearless people. Again, what a state to be teaching this principle. The state of Georgia. Years of oppression. And then a short little preacher became a lion. And he motivated frightened people to stand in the face of water hoses. He turned little girls into giants who could face dogs. I mean, this is leadership is so powerful. It can transform cowards. Here's what it means. Number 2, leadership determines the mentality of the followers. This is how powerful leadership is. Leadership also determines the morality of the followers. Your morale and your morals can be transformed by the right kind of leader. Leadership also determines the attitude of the follower. In essence, leadership determines the commitment of the follower. That's why we need you. We need you to discover your leadership, because there are people in your city who are being abused by the system. And they need someone to emerge who will give them hope. Because leadership determines the destiny of followers. I couldn't say it any better than my own greatest leader of all time, the ultimate leader of life, when he said these words: if the blind lead, wow. If the blind lead the blind, he says, they both fall into the ditch, which means the leader determines the destination of the followers. That's how powerful leadership is. Let me tell you something about your life. You are exactly where someone led you.